Y así es, chavitos, brothers y brothercitas, pues como ven que el hijo de Trump, Eric Trump, brothers, calla y educa a la media liberal, a la woke media corrupta, brothers. En esa entrevista que tuvo con Cuomo, que es el hermano del que fue el gobernador demócrata de Nueva York, Andrew Cuomo, brothers. También tranza hasta el gorro, pero este tipo que siempre ha sido de la televisión y en noticias, cree en esta entrevista que van a ver que puede hacer a Trump, al hijo de Trump, como se le da la gana. Y el hijo de Trump le pone un callabocas, brothers, como se debe de hacer, explicando de la forma más clara todas las atrocidades y ataques que ha recibido la familia entera Trump. Y cómo sobrevivieron los ataques de otro nivel que a veces nosotros ni sabíamos, brothers. Los atacaron por todos lados y ahorita lo van a oír. De hecho, también sacó un libro donde explica todo esto, todos los ataques y cómo sobrevivieron todo esto y cuánto dinero gastaron defendiéndose, que se llama The Siege, que en español querría decir el acoso. Este libro, brothers, va a estar buenísimo. Yo lo voy a leer. Vean esta entrevista, vamos a disfrutarla, brothers. La verdad le contesta como se debe.
That's why I have always been very arm's length, even though they're adults, with Trump's family, because I know what it's like to be family of someone who's running and going through the crucible of politics, though I have never seen anybody deal with what Trump has, for better or for worse. So his son Eric now has a book out about this called Under Siege, My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. I wanted to talk to him about his book and how he sees it, and he joins me now. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
Chris, good to be back on.
So, what motivated you to write this book? What do you want people to know?
Well, I want people to understand the true intention of the siege. I mean, I disagree with some of the things you said in the opening monologue, but listen, you were crucified as a family. This is where we'll agree. You were crucified as a family just as we were crucified as a family. My father went down that escalator, and they didn't wait 12 minutes. The Washington Post wrote an article 12 minutes later. This is when the impeachment of Donald Trump began. They impeached my father not just the first time, they impeached him the second time. They made up the dirty dossier. You covered it well for a very long time. You know the slanderous lies that they put in there. I was the guy getting the call from the FBI and everybody else saying, I hear you have secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating with the Kremlin. You know, CNN, and you were part of it at the time, they were relentless in accusing us of literally Russia collusion, which was totally false. We had nothing to do with Russia. They weaponized every AG. They weaponized every single DA in the country. Letitia James, you know her very well because she went after your brother and she went after your entire family. Yeah, Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith, who was planting classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. They were raiding our houses. They were raiding Melania's room. They were raiding Barron's room. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. I've never gotten so much as a traffic ticket because I happened to run the Trump organization and I didn't have the same congressional and executive branch protections that my father did. They took him off the ballot in Colorado. They took him off the ballot in Maine. They took us off of Twitter. They took us off of Facebook. They took us off of Instagram. I 91 indictments, right? I mean, how many gag orders were there in that period of time? And then after all of that was done, they tried to kill him. They tried to kill him in Butler, Pennsylvania, and then they tried to kill him again at a golf course. And then you saw exactly what happened with Charlie Kirk last week, where I lost a good friend, somebody I'd been on that stage with 100 times. They put our family, they put my father, they put me under siege. They put this nation under siege with their garbage and their games. Also, they could get a couple extra votes, and it's wrong, and the nation needs to know that, and the people watching the show needs to know what these people did, because it's illegal, it's undemocratic, and it's the last thing that should ever happen to the United States of America.
La gente que todavía esté dudando de que a Donald Trump lo atacaron, brothers, ojalá puedan ver este video para que se den cuenta de que por eso reaccionamos y por eso abrimos los ojos y dejamos de apoyar al partido demócrata. ¿Por qué? Por todas estas cosas que le hicieron a este señor cuando fue presidente y a todos nosotros con COVID y mucho más. Ojalá lo vean y compártanlo para que los zombies se despierten.
Now, as you know, and as we've talked about before, I don't test a lot of what you guys say the same way because it's your father, okay? And I'm not saying that you're full of it. I'm just saying it's an impenetrable conflict. And I get it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're right. I disagree with a lot of the things you say, but it's how we disagree that matters. Let me ask you something. Given everything you believe, why did the family want your father to run again after what had happened the first time?
Because they wanted to make our lives so miserable that we quit. And that's not who we are as a family. I believe in this country. I believe we live in the greatest nation in the world, right? It may be one thing that we can agree on. I believe in freedom of religion. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe that people shouldn't be gag ordered for voicing their opinions. I believe that people shouldn't be shot in the neck when they want to speak at college campuses. I believe in having a great economy. I believe in not having auto pen run all of the United States government. It was incompetence what was happening. And by the way, the entire Democratic media was perpetrating it. I mean, you questioned Joe Biden's cognitive abilities and you would get crucified. You saw what Jake Tapper did to Laura Trump. You know, she said what everybody knew and everybody was saying, and he came out and crucified her like she was a dog for saying, you know, it seemed like he was lacking his cognitive abilities. You know, they have tried to kill us at every road. And honestly, the Democratic media has become the PR firm for the Democratic Party. But unfortunately, Chris, or fortunately, the American people aren't buying it anymore. They haven't. And that's honestly why the media has faded out. It's why independent voice in this country has become so powerful. It's why Joe Rogan's doing so well. And it's why we won so decisively. We won the popular vote. We won every swing state, every state in this nation. Tacked to the right. We won places like Miami-Dade County by 11 points that had never been won by a Republican. I mean, literally, it's been 37 years since Miami-Dade has been won by a Republican. We won by 11 points. This nation gets it. They get exactly what these people were doing. And so we weren't going to back down. We weren't going to back down to the mob. We were going to fight, and we were going to win. That's just how we've always been bred.
Do you think that it is fair to say it looks like the administration is going after its political opponents now and doing exactly what you say you oppose?
Discúlpame, mi querido güey, pero, o sea, brothers, el que crea y le quiera dar la vuelta al rollo de que ahora Trump quiere venganza, pues podrán tomarlo como quieran, brothers, pero yo lo veo como que él tiene que ir en contra de la gente trans, hija de la chintola, que quiere destrozar a Estados Unidos. Y no es venganza, es simplemente justicia. Hicieron cosas terribles desde el 2017 para acá. Alguien tiene que pagar por eso. No es normal que a un criminal se le deje libre y que siga haciendo de las suyas de por vida. Eso es lo que hacen los demócratas en nuestras ciudades, en nuestros estados, en nuestro país. Las ciudades más llenas de crimen son las demócratas. ¿Y qué hacen? Nada, los dejan libres. Ahora que Trump quiere ir tras todos esos políticos que le hicieron la vida difícil a él y al país, ahora sí está mal. Pero mientras esos hijos de la chintola hicieron lo que se les dio la gana en contra de todos nosotros, eso estaba bien. No, qué bueno que lo está haciendo y que lo siga haciendo.
What, Comey? Because I mean, it seemed very clear to me in the congressional testimony. I don't know, just watching it, I certainly seemed like he lied to me. I mean, I'm also wondering what an FBI director is doing, taking memos from the FBI and leaking them to the New York Times. I mean, Chris, I'm a guy that hopes that the FBI director would be keeping planes from flying into buildings, you know, keeping our country safe, keeping the Western way of life safe. Instead, this guy is, you know, communicating every single day with the New York Times. I mean, I'd hope a lot better. But I find it so ironic that you're literally one that's pushing back on the weaponization of government when the very same people that were coming after us, you know, went after your brother, you know, like hounds. I mean, they did everything they could to destroy his governorship. They did everything they could to destroy his life. They did everything they could to destroy you. I sat in that same seat. The only difference is my last name wasn't Cuomo. My last name was Trump. They were trying to destroy my father. And by doing that, they were trying to destroy me, and they were trying to destroy the Trump organization. They were trying to take all our assets and strip our name off of every building in New York City. You've been on the receiving end of the very same people that I've been on the receiving end of. And so to play coy with me as if this isn't happening in the United States of America just seems ironic and foolish given what you've been through more so than anybody.
Hold on a second. What did you just say that you think I'm doing? I'm asking.
Playing coy, te estás haciendo güey. Te estás haciendo güey porque no quieres que te vuelvan a atacar como te atacaron a ti y a tu hermano antes. Tú quieres decir pases. Trump no va a decir pases. Trump va a ir detrás de todos esos güeyes.
It's about whether or not if something is wrong, it is also wrong to do the same thing when you get back in power, which certainly happened the first time the administration came in. You went right after Biden, and I don't mean you weren't part of the administration. I'll get to you in a second in terms of what's going on right now. But if you think I'm playing coy, you don't know me as well as you should.
Chris,
I'm not playing coy. I know what happened to me,
Chris,
Eric.
I'm saying
Chris,
that and it was
what is
horrible
happening now looks like what was done to you. That's why I'm asking the question.
Did we raid Biden's home? You know, did we try and bankrupt Biden? Did they come after us? Did we weaponize every AG and DA, you know, against Biden? Do we do that against Hunter Biden, who had a laptop from hell, pictures of cocaine, illicit drug use, prostitution? You know, did we do that? Did we make up a dirty dossier about Biden? Did they try and destroy Biden's marriage? You know, was any of that true? I mean, did we make up stories that Biden had secret servers in the basement of his home communicating with the Kremlin in Russia? You know, did we strip Biden off the ballot of multiple states? Did we take Biden off of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and try and silence his voice so he couldn't communicate? Did we put Biden in a courtroom every single day? 91 felony counts that have all been overturned for my father now, right? For nonsense, to try and keep him off of a campaign trail and to try and destroy his life. You know, did we do any of that? And the answer is no. I mean, if Comey lied and Republicans want to prosecute him, okay, then you know how many people they went after for perjury? You know, in my father's last cabinet, they went after everybody. Even if they didn't perjure themselves, they went after them for perjury.
Eric, I get the grievance, okay? I'm not saying that. Now, did you do those things? No, that's what was done to you. It doesn't mean that other things weren't done in retaliation or now to balance it out. I mean, today, what was happening with Jack Smith, I don't need that conversation. I don't need to go back. I need to get the Epstein files. I need to get the information. And I don't blame your father for this, by the way. Your father is not the problem on this one. It's the people around him who said things before and now say different things, and they're not doing what they promised to do. That's that issue for me. Why I'm asking you this, Eric, and I get why you're pissed off. It would be weird if you weren't. It's that when does anybody try to be better instead of just proving that the other side is worse every time they get into power? That's what I think drives the division. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, Chris, I think that's a great argument, unless you go back to 2017, of course. I mean, my father could have thrown Hillary Clinton in jail. She deleted 33,000 emails, went under, you know, congressional, you know, subpoena, and you know, she laughed about it. Oh, ha ha ha! We're using bleach bit. I mean, my father thought it would be totally inappropriate to do that to the first lady, a former first lady of the United States, somebody that was Secretary of State. You know, he wasn't given 12 minutes. Again, I go back to the Washington Post argument. This is when the impeachment of Donald Trump begins. 12 minutes after his hand came off the Bible on January 20th of 2017, and that's when the game started. Again, the whole Russia collusion narrative was made up, and I had to live with it for 3 years. I spent $400 million defending our company against something that was made up and paid for by Hillary Clinton, yet my father let all of it go.
For 400 millones de dólares, brothers, le costó a la organización Trump defenderse para que no les quitaran todo lo que les ha costado trabajo obtener toda su vida. O sea, aquí el que me diga que, o sea, que no fue ataque, está cañón. Ahora también hay que tener en cuenta algo. Imagínense si eso le quisieron hacer a Trump, brothers. Si Trump no hubiera sido el billonario que es, se lo echan, brothers, de todas las formas, literal. O sea que aquí, la verdad, lo que ha salvado a Trump no nada más es su fuerza psicológica y energía de vida que tiene, sino su dineral, que obviamente es producto de todo lo anterior que dije. Pero sin ese dineral, brothers, Trump estaría y la familia estarían deshechos ahorita.
No, he didn't go after her. He didn't try. And you know what? They didn't go after him until he decided he wanted to run again, in which case they tried to imprison him, in which case they dragged him through every court in the country, whether it's Fulton County, whether it's in New York City. You know the cases very well. Whether it's the Southern District of Florida, whether it's Washington, D.C., whether it was Robert Mueller, whether it was Jack Smith. I mean, Jack Smith claimed that he raided Mar-a-Lago because of NARA, National Archives. Does anybody actually believe you have 30 agents that raid Mar-a-Lago because of the National Archives, a glorified library? Chris, I was the guy that got the call from my team that day because they all work for me at Mar-a-Lago saying, sir, there's 30 FBI agents here with a search warrant, right? and they're demanding that immediately you turn off all security cameras. Why did the FBI want all our security cameras gone at his home? Why? Can you answer that? Why did Jack Smith plant classified manila folders and take photo shoots on the floor of my father's office? Why? And that's what Under Siege talks about. That's the weaponization of government. And they weaponized it from Biden to Merrick Garland all the way down. They weaponized it against us, and they sure as hell weaponized it against you.
Well, look, again, it doesn't matter what happened to me. You're the story. Your family's the story.
It does. It's the same government. It matters because
I see it differently. I really
Chris,
do.
It matters because.
Y claro que le debe de importar a este hijo de la chintola, brothers. Tener un gobierno corrupto nos afecta a todos. Lo que pasa es que este güey aquí, el Cuomo, está tratando de decir, yo no tengo ningún resentimiento con nada, aunque se lo hayan querido echar igual a que a su hermano. Él quiere pintar las paces. Y Trump, la familia Trump está hecha de otro material. Son guerreros de corazón y no se van a dejar, les van a tratar de exterminar a los que quisieron exterminarlos. Que aquí Cuomo, el woke Cuomo, quiere decir que, ay, pero es que yo lo veo de otra forma. Pues estás bien, güey, porque cómo no te va a afectar a ti, que eres americano, igual que a todos nosotros, los americanos, el tener un gobierno corrupto que quiera destrozar nuestro sistema de vida y nuestras costumbres y nuestras ideologías y quiere indoctrinar a nuestros niños y quiere hacer todo este tipo de cosas, güey. O sea, ¿no te afecta de verdad, güey?
Brother was a governor and somebody else wanted to be a governor, or because you were the brother of a governor.
I just think it's not happening now either. I don't. Now, is it the same? Is it better? Is it worse? That's not what matters to me. I just have big concerns that nobody is trying to make it better. It's just, it's one thing for you to be pissed off. You're his son. I get it. My question for you is, you know what the climate is.
Yeah.
Why would you put yourself in a situation where you get involved with crypto and have the UAE as one of your big customers, and then they get AI clearance for chips from the US government? You know how that's going to look. You know what's going to happen.
That can't be a serious question.
Brothers, esto es algo que la gente que diga, es que Trump se está aprovechando para enriquecerse en su presidencia. Esto lo tienen que escuchar, brothers. La familia Trump se hizo totalmente parte del criptomonedas por lo que el gobierno anterior de Biden les hizo. Les cerraron todas sus cuentas de banco. Todas, en todos los bancos que tenían, para que no pudieran pagar gastos, para que no pudieran pagar empleados, para que no pudieran hacer nada. Tuvieron que hacerse de la criptomoneda para poder salir adelante los Trump brothers. Pueden creerlo, pero la gente critica y dice, se están tratando de enriquecer para aprovechar que el papá es presidente. No, güey, eso fue desde antes. Tuvieron que entrarle al cripto por lo que les pasó.
Serious question. I mean,
but
Chris,
Eric, why put your family in the position? That's all I'm asking. It's a legitimate question.
Chris, I got involved with crypto because I was deplatformed from every bank in the country. Capital One called me in the middle of the night and said, congratulations, we're shutting down 300 of your bank accounts. And so did JP Morgan Chase, and so did Make America. You know why? Because we wore a hat that said, make America great again. Because we happened to be Republicans and they didn't like it, we lost the ability to conduct business with a great company. These are golf courses, residential buildings. You know our assets. You've been to so many of them. I've seen you at so many of them. They tried to destroy our company. And you know what? Crypto was the only answer for us, right? We got into crypto, and then we realized how antiquated, the modern financial system was, how slow it was, how punitive it was, how they debanked half of the conservatives in this country. If they didn't like you, they debanked you. They froze your bank accounts for no reason whatsoever. It's illegal. It's undemocratic. It's un-American. That's how I found crypto. And you know when I found crypto? I found crypto when I was sitting in those cold courtrooms, sitting next to my father, right, with no other choices, when everybody else, including yourself, thought we had no chance of ever winning the White House again. That's when I found crypto. And then all of a sudden it becomes a big deal that I become a vocal advocate for an industry that can't be weaponized because it's on blockchain, that can't, discriminate people for a whole host of reasons, as modern day banks were doing to half of this nation. I had no other choice but to find crypto because the Biden administration was calling the big banks and saying, hey, you better not bank the Trump organization, because if you bank those golf courses, if you bank those great hotels, You know, we're going to look unfavorably at you. That's exactly what was happening. That was all part of the weaponization. That's all part of how they put our family under siege. We have a father.
¿Oyeron eso, chavos? ¿Oyeron eso? O sea, aquí el ataque fue a otro nivel, brothers, y lo sobrevivieron.
I have a father who wants to see the strongest country. We have a family. You're looking at one of them that never left that stage because they want to see America strong. They want to see family values. They want to see good kids. They want to see happiness in society. They want to see safe streets. You know, my father tries to clean up the streets in Chicago, and it's met with horrible resistance. I built a building there. I know Chicago as well as any human being. There are 15 murders every weekend. 15 moms, 15 dads, countless brothers and sisters are losing loved ones every single day in Chicago, and they reject the help. We came in to save this country, to save this republic. You know, 5 years ago, you were watching Colin Kaepernick take a knee, you know, as they sang the national anthem at NFL games. You were watching, you know, Olympic soccer players, female soccer players, turn their back after they win a gold medal as the American flag is raised behind them. That's not America. You know, we are the greatest country anywhere in the world. I know this because I've traveled to the vast majority of them. We are so fortunate to be Americans. We should have the safest streets. We should have the most prosperous economy. We should have the best society. We have the best way of life. We should have a legal system that cannot be corrupted by the Letitia James who want to go after political enemies, both in our cases, Republican and Democrat. We should not have that in America. We should have the greatest system of law. We should have fairness. We should have a constitution. We should have a government that actually works for the people.
That'd be
unfortunately,
nice.
Unfortunately, we don't because of the madness. And you know, respectfully to the comment, you know, about seeing violence go both ways. You know, man, I've sat behind this chair for a long time in the political world, right? I mean, you know, close to 15 years, and I've seen the disproportionate amount of violence targeting Republicans. I can't tell you how many letters I've personally opened up in my kitchen, nor can I tell you how many letters Laura has, and I know you love my wife, has opened up only to see white powder come flying out of them, right?
Listen,
Y sí, brothers, la verdad está muy cañón. No puede ser posible o sea, es increíble oír este tipo de historias, porque uno ha visto el ataque, pero a este nivel, y listado casi por orden, como lo hizo Eric Trump, pocas veces. Y la gente que no entiende el por qué Trump todavía regresar y ganar las elecciones es tan grande, brothers. O sea, que el país le haya dado literalmente el voto total a Trump, los dos, el electoral, el popular, y que haya ganado todos los swing states y que haya ganado todo lo que se puede ganar. Es algo que es muy, dice la verdad de todo, brothers. Y ojalá la gente que es zombie, que ustedes conozcan, compartan este video para que vean el nivel de maldad que ha habido en contra, no nada más de la familia Trump, que están ahora sí que a la punta de lanza del movimiento MAGA, sino detrás de todos los que pues estamos tratando de defender la forma normal de vida que hemos tenido siempre en contra de los woke, de los liberales, de los demócratas que quieren destruirla y deshacerla, brothers. Pero bueno, comenten, por favor, compartan. ¿Qué les pareció esto? Teníamos que compartirlo y quería que lo oyeran. Y díganme qué piensan, brothers. Suscríbanse y no se les olvide que los amo.